You're watching Idaho's News Channel 7. This is the news at 10.
Just hours ago, Canyon County issued a local disaster emergency because of a major thunderstorm that blew through southern Idaho today.
The storm knocked out power to thousands of people, destroyed power lines, flooded certain areas, and tore trees right out of the ground. Lightning also sparked multiple fires in Oregon and in Idaho.
We've got team coverage for you tonight. Our Abby Davis is live in Nyssa, Oregon with the latest on the cleanup from the storm. But first, we're going to send it over to meteorologist Sophia Bliss. Sophia, what can we expect overnight?
So the good news is that we're expecting the storm activity to start to wind down, but you can see there are still some storms out there, namely over in the Twin Falls area. It's just a few getting ready to pass through there, but overall, throughout the evening, we will see that start to dwindle. Now, taking a look back at what we saw right around the 1:30, 2 o'clock time frame, this is a view of a severe warned thunderstorm that was in Nyssa, and I want to just show you how powerful this downdraft was. You can see all of that rain coming down, and it looks like at points the downdraft does start to drift out, and just shows you how powerful some of those winds were at the surface. And it's possible that this storm and the resulting damage was from a microburst. So what is a microburst? Well, when you have a mature thunderstorm, there are parts of the storm that are an updraft and parts that are a downdraft. And when we start to get dry air intruding at the mid-level, we get a little bit more cooling in areas, and all of that cool air starts to rush down to the surface. For a visual, you can kind of imagine a glass of water. If you dumped all that water out on a table, all of that would rush mostly in one direction. So that's the kind of visual that we're going for. But some of these winds can be extremely powerful, and that air hits the ground and is forced outward. So that's one of the things that we will be assessing to see if that's what caused the damage. And some of those cities near the Idaho-Oregon border are dealing with the destruction of this storm. And our Abby Davis is live in Nyssa right now. Abby, how are things looking?
It is windy out here right now, Sophia. We were trying to get to the city center to show you guys at home all of the damage there. We weren't able to. The road was blocked off. We pulled off to a side road, and look right here. There is a big tree completely uprooted. The irrigation canal right next to it filled with debris, and it looks like the service road in the middle is flooded. And that's really the story for in and around the city right now. Everywhere you look, debris on the ground, branches strewn about, water in the streets. I'm told several weeks before everything is cleared. It's all hands on deck in Nyssa, Oregon.
I've never seen this here.
As the community cleans up damage from a strong thunderstorm that moved through the area Wednesday afternoon. Radar scans show wind gusts got up to 60 miles per hour.
This type of wind is like a hurricane wind. That's what it felt like.
Sparking a fire in eastern Oregon, downing dozens of power lines and leaving parts of the city flooded, covered in branches.
It started out as a typical, to me, like rainstorm and hail, and then, excuse my French, but all hell broke loose at that point.
Just look at Freddie Rideau's front yard.
The great thing what's going on right now is we got the community that's helping us with the falling down tree.
He and his daughter watched it fall on the neighbor's garage.
We couldn't see across the street. And it was so much water and the wind, and she's like, Dad, the grass is coming up.
City Manager Jim Merritt spent his afternoon assessing the mess. He says agencies from all over responded, including Idaho Power, the Malheur County Sheriff's Office, and Payette County Road and Bridge.
The power probe broke at the base of the pole, and they're prepping right now to get it taken out and take the pressure off of this pole here.
It's amazing the amount of support and teamwork that we have within our area when an emergency does happen.
Merritt estimates hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage, but money comes back, people don't.
That's what I'm most thankful for, is there were no injuries.
I'm told it'll take crews several days to get all the power lines back up. In the meantime, if you come across a downed power line, the Idaho Power spokesperson told me over the phone, stay in the car, call Idaho Power. It's best to be safe rather than sorry. But good news, Morgan and Brian, I did check the Idaho Power outage map about 10 minutes ago. Earlier this afternoon, about 3,000 homes were without power. That number is now less than 1,000. So they are making good progress out here.
And just to confirm, Abby, you had said earlier, at least when we were speaking prior to the show, no one was injured in this situation out there?
Correct. Honestly, a miracle as we were driving around. As you can see, downed trees, uprooted trees. People are very lucky that nothing fell on them.
All right, Abby, thank you.
That's a lot more damage than I expected to see. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Thanks,
intense.
Abby.
Those storms sparked at least 2 fires in eastern Oregon. The Bureau of Land Management says a lot of resources are responding to the Little Valley fire, which is now burning about 12,000 acres. Officials say lightning sparked this fire near Harper, Oregon. It was reported around 1 o'clock this afternoon and is threatening 2 structures. BLM and Vail Rangeland Fire Protection Association crews are fighting the fire from the ground and the sky. The BLM told us about half an hour ago it's sending a Type 3 high desert incident management team to the fire. Officials say crews contained a second fire as well near Huntington, Oregon earlier. That one only grew to 30 acres.
Lightning started several other fires in southern Idaho today. The Bureau of Land Management says the Warren fire is burning 2 miles outside of Melba right now. At last check, the fire has grown to about 500 acres and is expected to be contained around 11 o'clock tonight. BLM expects to have that put out by 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Meanwhile, the King fire is burning a little further east near Cunamora Road and King Road. That fire has burned about 24 acres, and officials say it was contained around 8:15 this evening. They expect to have that one put out by tomorrow night around 10.
Workers at the Idaho National Laboratory evacuated today after lightning started a grass fire near the facility. INL says the fire is burning about 150 acres east of State Highway 22. The fire is burning in sagebrush and grass. INL says the fire is now completely contained by a fire break and there is no risk to the public.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court accidentally posted what appears to be a draft of its Idaho abortion ban decision.
To be clear, the Supreme Court has not yet officially released this decision, and the document was quickly removed from its website. However, Bloomberg Law, which obtained a copy of the document, reported the decision would allow emergency abortions again in Idaho.
The Supreme Court issued a statement acknowledging, quote, the court's publications unit inadvertently and briefly uploaded a document to the court's website. But the court stressed decisions in Moyle v. United States and Idaho v. United States. Those have not been released officially, and those rulings will be issued in due course.
Meanwhile, this morning in Boise, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra spoke about Idaho's abortion bans. Idaho was a stop on his National Reproductive Health for All tour.
Becerra was joined by Idaho women and doctors who shared the realities of our abortion bans. They also discussed that inadvertent posting of the Supreme Court's opinion. Becerra weighed in on the possibility of emergency abortions again being allowed in Idaho.
If indeed the Supreme Court upholds the very practice principle that you are entitled to get the emergency care that you need based on what your medical professional, that doctor says you need, that would be a good thing.
An official decision on the Idaho case is expected tomorrow or Friday.
The man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students is expected to be back in court tomorrow. Brian Koberger has pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. Tomorrow's hearing is expected to address several motions, including one challenging the state seeking the death penalty in the case. No trial date has been set for this case.
Following 2 off days in Eugene, the U.S. Olympic trials resume tomorrow.
3 members of Team Idaho will line up in the women's 3,000-meter steeplechase final. We're going to head over live to Tracktown, USA, where we find sports director Jay Tust. And Jay, I guess the question is, what are the chances we're going to add another Olympian to Team Idaho tomorrow?
Well, we're still here, Brian, waiting for that opportunity, right? Considering that Marissa Howard, Ali Ostrander, and Lexi Halliday-Lowry all finished in the top 5 of the semifinal of the 3,000-meter steeplechase, tomorrow could be a special night over at Hayward Field. For Ali O in particular, she's been building towards this moment for a few years now. It's interesting, in a day and age where social media can be toxic, it actually lifted Ali O up a few years ago when she was faced with adversity. Speaking is often a simple practice, but sometimes finding the right words,
I was kind of scared to share about myself,
is a challenge.
my goals, my training online, because I felt like it put extra pressure on me.
In June 2021,
her 3rd NCAA outdoor title, and she's about to set a stadium record.
Former Boise State national champion Ali Ostrander revealed her deepest, darkest secret in an Instagram post. She stated she was uncomfortable, uncertain, and scared. But more than anything, she was tired of living with an eating disorder.
This is my story, but sadly, it isn't just mine.
Searching for her voice in sports,
I was very not into social media in college.
she found it on the platforms she once avoided.
You're gonna do great.
I started dating Spencer in 2020, and he had a YouTube channel, and I was like, you know, I'm a professional runner. I have like so much time on my hands. I kind of want another hobby, so he was like, you're really good on camera, you should just start a YouTube channel. And I'm really glad that Spence is here, because otherwise it would be bad. This last like year and a half, I've like really leaned into it and enjoyed it so much.
The more Allie opened up, the more people embraced her.
It's just time to rest up and try to put all this fitness to use. When you're vulnerable, people are vulnerable back.
Her Instagram following has exploded to over 139,000 followers.
They feel really seen and supported through hearing about like a common struggle.
And her YouTube channel has over 65,000 subscribers.
It kind of builds community and helps us all get through those things that no one really wants to talk about. I've been thinking about the race tomorrow, and honestly, I just really want to run a personal best.
Tomorrow night, Allie will race for a spot in the Paris Olympics.
Getting to the final is already a win, but I want to stick my nose in it, compete really well, and just see what I can do.
And her fans won't just be watching her, they'll be with her, providing volumes of support she once thought didn't exist.
I've built like such a strong online community through YouTube and Instagram that like are constantly so supportive and just amazing to me and believe in me through everything. So I feel so loved, and I think like that has really helped me come at this with like a very open mind and open heart.
There are just so many cool stories here in Eugene. The steeplechase final begins tomorrow at 8:18 Mountain Time. And as I send it back to Boise, Brian, and Morgan, just to reiterate here, there are 14 women in that field. 3 of them are on Team Idaho. I would love to know how many final races here in Eugene a single city can claim 3 or more athletes in that final. It's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. I think it's also pretty impressive that Ali's the take on that. Like you said, you touched on it, Jake. Social media can be very toxic, but there's a flip side to that too. It could also be very supportive when you find, as she said, her community.
Yeah. All right, Jay, thank you. Still to come here on the news at 10, as the problems at the southern border persist, dozens of migrants with potential ties to ISIS are currently at large in the U.S.
Well, the search is on for dozens of migrants with possible links to an ISIS-affiliated smuggling network. NBC's Julie Ainsley has more.
Tonight, NBC News has learned more than 50 migrants with potential ties to an ISIS-affiliated smuggling network are at large in America. Many illegally crossed the border and were released into the U.S. by Border Patrol because there was no information suggesting terror ties at the time. Now, their whereabouts are unknown as immigration agents look to arrest them, U.S. officials tell us, saying they're among a group of over 400 migrants DHS identified in the U.S. from Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Moldova, Kyrgyzstan, Georgia, and Russia as subjects of concern because they were brought to the U.S. by an ISIS-affiliated smuggling network, something the FBI director warned about earlier this year.
Some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
ICE has located and arrested over 150 of the 400 migrants so far, with some already deported from the U.S., officials say, adding authorities are not panicking because their ties to ISIS are not certain, but they're prioritizing their arrest out of an abundance of caution.
The problem is the volume of people coming across the southern border, individuals from ISIS and other affiliated groups have recognized it as a weak point in our defense, and they're using this opportunity to try to sneak in.
NBC News was first to report on a similar arrest of an Uzbek man in Baltimore, whose country alerted the U.S. he was affiliated with ISIS. That man, like the others apprehended so far, was arrested on immigration charges, not terrorism-related charges. ISIS-K has claimed responsibility for deadly terror attacks in Russia and Iran in the past year. And recently, the DHS Inspector General sharply criticizing vetting at the U.S. southern border, saying DHS is at risk of admitting dangerous persons into the country or enabling asylum seekers who may pose significant threats to public safety and national security to continue to reside in the United States.
Two senior law enforcement officials told NBC News they are not tracking a terror plot from this group of migrants, but their arrest on immigration charges come out of an abundance of caution.
With the high cost of housing pinching people's wallets, new affordable apartments are coming to Mountain Home. Leap Housing made the announcement today. There will be 60 units, and the nonprofit says rent will range between $520 and $1,100 for a 2-bedroom, and between $600 and $1,300 for a 3-bedroom. The rate will depend on the chosen applicant's income. Leap expects the first residents to move in by mid-August and asks people of all income levels to apply. The apartment community will have several amenities, including a clubhouse, a laundry room, and playground.
Well, if you've noticed a funky smell in parts of Twin Falls, you are not alone. City officials are acknowledging the strong odors impacting parts of the city, and they're working to get it under control. How? Not sure. They say initial tests show the smell isn't coming from the city's wastewater lines, though. Instead, it appears the smell is coming from specific industries within or adjacent to the city. Oh, officials didn't name which industries are to blame, but we know. We know. They said they are working to address the smell.
I wonder, how long has this been going on? We need to get to the bottom of this.
Every year. It seems to be every year somebody's reporting this.
Oh, okay. At a certain time of year. Okay.
Probably.
An update to a story we first told you about last night. The Idaho Department of Motor Vehicles issuing paper tests now because of issues with its testing system. The DMV says Idaho is one of several states impacted by the outages. Idaho uses touchscreen computers to give new drivers the written portion of the driver's test. The DMV says the paper tests, they may be old school, but they are reliable.
From News Channel 7, time for 7 First Alert weather.
It's been quite a dramatic day in the world of weather. Many strong storms drifting through the region and at times creating views like this. This is a view over from Parma. You can see lots of detail in this cloud with multiple areas of rotation, just showing how strong that storm in particular is. You can also see the rain in the background there, really high at times. Some of these storms had rainfall rates of multiple inches per hour, which is not common for our area. So lots of dramatic views like this. And if we take a look at the radar, this is what happened over this whole afternoon, going back to about 12 hours. I just want to show you how busy the day was as storms continued to move in the region and over several areas at a time. So what did that add up to? For many people, that added up to some gusty winds and lightning in the distance and some rumbles of thunder. And for some people, even hail. At some points, some of those storms were producing ping pong ball sized hail. So unfortunately, with some of those strong winds and the hail, we could have personal property that could have been damaged because of these storms. So cars, your house, all could have been damaged with some of these storms, especially the ones that were on the stronger side. This potential will dwindle as we go into the late night hours, much clearer as we get closer to the early morning hours of tomorrow. Tomorrow is a dramatically different picture. We're talking about much cooler temperatures and much more of the breezy conditions and really much more pleasant. But the temperatures will spike again as we get closer to Saturday. And so I know we're talking about a cool down, but today was still very much on the hot side. Big difference in temperature between Ontario and Boise, likely because we had more of the storm activity towards Ontario. But you can see closer to the 80s for the mountain areas and close to the 90s over in the Magic Valley. And so right now we still have the high pressure ridge that is in place. That will continue to move off to the east, and you can see that storm track where that moisture was coming from and combining with some of that low pressure to bring us some of these storms today. And behind the cold front that is bringing the cooler conditions, it will be a little bit short-lived because, again, the temperatures will be rebounding as we get closer to Saturday. So yes, tomorrow we are talking about much cooler temperatures, more breezy conditions, especially in the Magic Valley, where some of those gusts could reach up to 35 miles an hour. The cooler temperatures will bring the highs back down into the 70s and 60s in mountain areas, bringing those lows to a comfortable range in the 50s. And you can see even the valleys, more sunshine is expected and more pleasant conditions. Again, high expected to be in the 80s in valley areas. Big drop down from what we saw today. So pleasant conditions sticking around through Thursday and Friday. We got the hot temperatures coming back on Saturday. We're tracking some background chances of showers and thunderstorms on Sunday. But again, that's a little bit too low in confidence to talk more about right now. But then overall, you can see things staying on the hot side throughout your 7-day forecast. We'll be right back after this.
A local local dive shop is doing its part to make scuba diving more inclusive. Today, the company held a clinic to teach people who are blind how to scuba dive.
Yeah, it's part of the work readiness program with the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. It's helping build confidence and independence for kids from all over Idaho. Photojournalist Paul Belke brings us the story.
You know what's awesome with scuba diving is we just get in the water and we chill. So today we're doing a Discover Scuba and swim pool time. They're excited. In fact, a couple of them that came in today, I've recognized them. You start to recognize the kids. Are you ready? Yeah. This is probably our third time that we've done this. We'll get them started here in the shallow end of the pool, get them geared up, make sure everything fits properly. Those who want to, when they're ready, they let their instructor know, okay, I'm ready to go to the deep end of the pool. Some of them are super brave. We kind of change how we do some of the signals because instead of being able to show somebody a hand signal from a distance, we have to do what we call touch signals. We'll actually do a briefing with them and we will show them the hand signals. It's amazing. In our minds, we think to ourselves, scuba diving is a visual thing.
That was way better.
So a lot of times, and I'll bring in new dive masters and instructors. I'll try to bring in at least 1 or 2 new ones each time so they can experience and think outside of the box that, hey, there's other people in this world that want to actually try scuba diving. I truly enjoy it.
Wow, I never thought about that. It's the experience, right? It's not just seeing
and the
what's down
sensation
there.
of being underwater that deep. Yeah, amazing.
Very, very unique. If you've ever wanted to see how the stars of the Boise State football team would fare playing another sport, tonight is the night. Brady Frederick has highlights from the Summer Softball Classic next.
A great tradition for the Boise State football team. They got to try out a different sport tonight and once again compete in the Summer Softball Classic. We've got the offense wearing blue, the defense wearing orange, a ton of bragging rights on the line, and the smack talk has been ongoing all week long. But first things first, something both sides can cheer for. Dale Holste, the equipment operations director for nearly 30 years, tossing out the first pitch. A little outside. We'll call that a strike, though. We'll give him the call. So the offense would take the plate first. Jonah Dolmas leading it off, captain of the blue team. He guaranteed a win tonight. Can he back it up? Well, first pitch, not a great start. Pop out routine. Then look at this. He gets swarmed by the guys in the orange short shirts. They are letting him know about it. Some tone-setting trash talk leads to a scoreless frame. The defense would shake things up quickly, though. On to the captain, Alexander Tubner. 2 on. It is a bad day to be the ball. He takes that one way deep to center field. The start of a 6-run first inning. More homers to come from Michael Callahan and Sheldon Newton. How about this in the third, though? The offense charges up. Austin Bolt, great football player, track star, basketball player at Bora High. Guess what? Pretty good softball player as well. Sends that one out of the yard. They would eventually get the game within 3 runs in the 5th, but as any good defensive unit does, the orange squad able to finish strong, pick up some insurance. How about Sheldon Newton? He was a home run machine, punishing the ball tonight. The defense backed up all the talk. They win the 2nd straight Summer Softball Series big. 20-12 is the final.
Yeah, I mean, it's real simple. Talk's cheap, right? So, you know, I called my shot before the game. I said, we're going to run it up. Now, they made a little bit of a comeback there, but you know what? We held the win, and then 3 up, 3 down. That was it. So, I mean, it's easy to talk about. It's another thing to defend the title again and again.
You know, I think we did a good job. You know, they got a lot more baseball players, baseball background. We kind of just came out free ball, had fun. But I think we came together, we rallied, we didn't quit. You know, we kept playing the whole time, so it was a good time. You know, just the support we have out here and, you know, to be able to just be around the fans and, you know, connect with them more on a personal level, signing autographs after, meeting them, shaking hands, all the stuff you really wouldn't get to do, you know, in a game day atmosphere.
It's awesome, man. As a guy that's been here since 2019, to uphold the tradition of the defense winning this game, man, and to get to experience this one more time out here. Got some fans out here, nice day. It's special.
All right, finally, a heavyweight matchup in the home run derby. Maddox Madsen representing the current players, DJ Schramm representing the alumni. They've both won this derby before. Maddox took it last year. He would defend his title. He beat Michael Callahan with 19, then beat DJ with 10 to take the trophy. Incredible swing. We'll see if he can back it up next year. We're back with the news at 10 after this.
I hope you patched up those holes in the tubes because the Boise River float season kicks off tomorrow.
Officials with Float the Boise say river flows drop below 1,200 cubic feet per second, which is the typical safe range for floating. And today, the Boise Fire Dive Team is finishing hazard mitigation along the float route.
So starting tomorrow, shuttle buses will still run daily starting at noon between Barber Park and Ann Morrison Park. Float tube rental services will also be open at Barber Park. Summer is here.
I was just going to say that. Thanks for joining us.